Hi friends! Today our art inspiration is the snow globe. I borrowed a few snow globes from one of my friends who has a very beautiful collection, and she kindly lent them to me. Have you seen snow globes before? Have you gotten the chance to shake them and watch the snow fly and then settle? And as I was looking at the snow globes, I was thinking that sometimes you can't quite see what's in them until the snow has settled. I didn't even see that the bunny had a little bird in front of it that it was talking to when the snow was swirling around, right? And then I started to think, sometimes it's like that with feelings, isn't it? When your feelings are swirling around, it's hard to see all the details. And so we'll be doing art together, but I thought it might be a good chance, I'll show you all of them because they're all so nice. It might be a good chance for us to also talk about what we do when everything feels like it's swirling around. And sometimes those feelings that are swirling around might be big, bright, glittery feelings like this one. Maybe they're joy and expectation and excitement. Maybe they're sad feelings too. Disappointment, frustration, anger. And when those feelings are strong and they're swirling around, it's hard to really see what's going on. And it's okay to have feelings that are swirling around. Sometimes they're beautiful when they're swirling around, but it can also be a lot. So I'm going to invite you, before we gather our art supplies, I'll swirl my snow globe. I'm going to invite you to let your feelings settle. And one of the best tools that I have in my toolbox for letting my feelings settle is the breathing tool. So if you'd like, this is an invitation. Let's take 3 good breaths together as we watch our snow globe settle. Ready? In through your nose, out through your mouth. One more. Last one. Your best and most beautiful. Look, it's going to become clear again. So we're going to set our snow globe down for a moment, and I'll tell you what you need. We are going to do a watercolor project. So if you're a 2nd or 3rd grader, you have some watercolor paper that was handed out to you, so go get that. You're going to need something to trace a big circle with, so I have a big, well, it's a cereal bowl, clean bowl. It's a watercolor project, so you're going to need your watercolors. I'm going to use mine. You'll need something to clean your brush with. My trick is an old sock. You could use a paper towel or any old thing that you can clean your brush on. Some clean water. And finally, my favorite thing for watercolors, some salt. The salt you can use or not use. You only need a pinch. And if you've done watercolors with me before, you probably have seen this trick already, but it's gonna look really great on this one. So, oh, and a pencil for sketching. Pencil, watercolor paper, watercolors, water, a rag or paper towel for cleaning your brush, and some salt if you want to add a little sparkle. Gather those things and meet me back here. Okay friends, so first things first, let's sketch out the snow globe. I've turned my paper this way so that I can fit my snow globes standing up. I'm going to put my bowl face down. So I'm just going to run my pencil all the way around. I'm going to hold my bowl steady with my other hand so that it doesn't wiggle out of place. I got it. I'm going to lift my bowl away. I don't need it that anymore, so I'm going to return that to the kitchen. Go return it to the kitchen. You can pause the video if you need to. And then I'm going to draw the base. Now, there are different kinds of bases for snow globes. This one's just kind of goes straight down. And I've got another one that's kind of more curvy. So, you know, as with all things with our videos, they are invitations and inspirations. You don't have to do it exactly like mine. I think for this one, I'm gonna kind of draw a slightly diagonal line going out from the bottom of my snow globe. And then because it's gonna kind of curve around to fit the shape. Kinda. Like so. There's some stray pencil marks here that I'm just gonna erase. And that's it, that's the outline of a snow globe. At the base of my snow globe, I'm gonna draw a big mound of snow like this. Do you see it? It sort of intersects right here. They're just two gently sloping lines. And then, friends, I'm gonna ask you to think about a scene that you would like to see when the snow clears. In my snow globes that I have that I'm showing you, there are a lot of animals like the bunny, and this one is a fox. But I think for mine, I'm just gonna draw some trees in the forest, sort of in the distance. Some winter trees that would still have their leaves on them. You can draw animals, you can draw trees, you can draw, well, whatever you'd like. So take a moment, sketch what you imagine you'd like to see when the snow clears. For me, I think just a peaceful forest scene. And then you are gonna get your watercolors ready. And here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a little wet on wet technique. That means we're gonna put some water down, plain water down first, and then we're gonna put some wet paint on top of it and move it around and see what happens. I am gonna do blue around the top, and I'm going to make it darker on the top, and then as we get down towards the snow, it's gonna be so light that you can barely see it. So we're gonna play a little bit with the intensity of the color, the value of the color. Let's do it together. I'm gonna get my paintbrush wet first and tap it so it's not super, super wet. And do you see I'm following the line that I drew with my pencil? And you can't really see anything because it's just plain water on white paper. But that's what I'm doing. I'm not gonna put paint on top of what I sketched. I'm imagining I'm doing the sky. Like so. Maybe like partway down. So you be the judge and tell me how wet it is. Now, once that's wet, I'm gonna drop a little, move my palette down a little. I'm gonna drop a little water into my blue well right there. And then I'm gonna get my brush wet. So now I've got wet paint on wet paper, and let's see what happens. Do you see that? Do you see how it's starting to move across the paper? That's what watercolor does. It's so great. And remember I said I wanted it to be darker on top. So I'm gonna put a lot of paint on the top, imagining the top of my snow globe. And I can tell that I'm starting to get to the part of the paper that I don't have water on because look, the paint's not moving around anymore because there's no water there to help it move around. So I'm gonna get my brush dry wet a little bit. I'm gonna tap it off on my sock, and now I can move it around. Here's where you get to play with the watercolor. And I'm still pretty close to the top, so I think that we need a little more blue, personally. But I'm gonna be careful that I don't want it to be so blue as I get down to where the edge of my snow is. So the way you do that is you start to paint up. So down here, there's no color. So I'm gonna put some just plain water, and as I paint up, the color moves up. Does that make sense? I'm pushing the paint up away from the snow line. You know, I kind of want this blue to be even darker. So I'm gonna get a little bit of black over here at the very end, and I'm gonna mix it. Let me move this down so you can see it. I'm gonna mix it up here. I'm gonna put a little bit of black down and take a little bit of blue from here. So I've got a darker blue because I'm realizing I want it to be a little darker. And then even though I painted this already, I can still go over it. Ooh, do you see how that color is a little darker? And now maybe I'm imagining my snow globes at night. You could blend in other colors. Maybe you want your snow globe to be like a sunrise snow globe, and so you want some oranges and pinks, or sunset could be that color too. All right, friends, let's keep painting. And be careful to go around whatever you sketched. Here's where sketching something simple kind of helps. Add more colors if you want. Just be careful around the base where the snow is. I'm going right up to the edge of my trees, but I'm not coloring them. I'm not painting them. Okay. Let me take you down. Now, we're getting close to the end. Have a look at how much color is in your snow globe and whether you think you need more anywhere. Check out what your color is doing and move it around if you want. The other fun thing we can do that we haven't done yet is you can just drop some plain water in and see what kind of blooms it makes. Oh, like this. Let me take you down. All right, does it look like a swirly snow globe? Mine is starting to look like a swirly snow globe. And nothing to... All right. So here is where we do the magic trick with the salt. When you're happy with the way your sky and your snow globe looks and it's still wet, remember it still has to be wet, you're gonna take a pinch of salt, just table salt. You don't need a lot, and sprinkle. And each of the spots where that salt sticks is gonna kind of look like a starburst, or perhaps like snow swirling in your snow globe. All right, friends, leave this part of the snow globe for a few minutes, go take a little break, and we're gonna come back and finish it. Okay, friends, so I took a little break. I got a cup of coffee. What did you do? Probably not get a cup of coffee, I hope. And my painting is mostly dry. It's a little wet up here, so I can't push the salt off yet, but it's dry close to where I want to paint next, so I can keep going. The reason I don't want to paint this when it's wet right around here is because the wet on wet will keep working, and then if I paint this green, the green might start to seep into the sky, which is not the worst thing in the world, but if you wanted to keep whatever you sketched separate from the sky, make sure that the paint around it is really, really completely dry. And actually, just to make sure it's totally dry, I'm gonna start with the base. So your base is yours to paint however you want. I'm gonna use that wet on wet technique again. And so I'm gonna carefully paint around where I sketched the base out to be. And I think I'm gonna paint it a really bright and vibrant red, because the rest of my painting is kind of like these soft swirly blues. Then there's going to be some green for my trees, so I'm going to paint this bright vibrant red. So I got the base wet. I'm going to wet the paint in my palette. I'd already cleaned it, my brush, so there's no blue on it. And here comes my red. And you see how it's moving all over? It's pretty wet, so it's moving like crazy. And right now, what I'm noticing is that it's more pink than red. So if that happens to you, you can say, hey, I kind of like this pink. Wasn't my first plan, but I like it, and leave it. Or you can go back to your palette and pick up more color and add it in. You don't have to do all one color. You could do a mix of colors. You could do a pattern. I'm gonna keep going. I think I wanna layer the colors on and make it darker, more intense. Remember, up here we were trying to go from intense to lighter. On my base, I'm just gonna go for a kind of an even intensity of color. Dun, 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 dun. What do we think? I think I rather like it. I'm gonna wash my brush in that case. So I'm gonna really wash it out well. I'm going to clean it on my sock bracelet. And I can tell it's clean because it's not leaving any paint behind. And now I'm going to go to my trees. And actually, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna turn my painting sideways because I don't wanna like put my elbow in the wet paint here. You could let it dry, take a break again, let it dry, and come back to it if you'd like. For me, I am an impatient artist sometimes. So I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna use my clean brush. And this time I'm not gonna do wet on wet because I wanna have a little bit more control over where my paint goes. So I'm gonna do wet on dry, and I'm just gonna add the green of my trees. Like so. Now, I think I'd like it to be a slightly darker green, so I'm gonna pick up a little more color, but not a whole lot more water because the water will dilute it and make it less vibrant, have less value. I got all the way to the bottom of this tree. And I'm just going to kind of, I didn't do this in my sketch, but I'm going to make them a little more shaggy. I'm realizing if I go to this tree right now, they're going to bleed together because see, this one's all wet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm going to start by giving the one that I painted its trunk, like so. And then I'm going to take a break, and I'm going to do something, and I'm gonna advise extreme caution, but I'm gonna do it anyway. We're gonna live a little bit on the edge. I've got a very clean brush that's just wet and not even super sopping wet. And do you remember when we drew the slope of snow and now it's just a pencil line? I'm going to go over that slope of snow with my slightly damp brush like this. because, you know, when snow does it, like the mounds of snow, there's like this sort of little shadow there. And then I'm gonna pick up just the tiniest amount of blue, and I'm gonna just put it right there. Oh, it's already a little too much, so I'm cleaning my brush, and I'm gonna move it on this line so it kind of looks like there's a shadow on the slope of snow. Just like that. And do the same thing right here. What do you think? Okay, friends, I'm going to go to my second tree. And let's flip it around and see what we think. There it is. All right, friends, keep working on yours. Snow globe art. What did you make? Here's mine. Oh, I wish I could see yours. I bet they're magnificent. And I hope in your snow globe you have sketched a scene that brings you some peace and comfort and joy. And that when you look at it, you see the swirls around. I see where the salt hit and made little bursts of snow. And maybe you put it somewhere so that you think, yep, there are times when the snow is swirling, when my feelings are swirling, and sometimes that's exciting and sometimes that's overwhelming. But there are things that I can do. I can take a breath, or two, or three, and it will settle. And when it settles, hopefully I'll have a scene in front of me that helps me find that calm again. Just a little thought, an invitation. Friends, I realized I didn't even do a time-lapse video because I got so excited painting with you. It's been a while. I hope you enjoyed this art video. I loved making it, and I can't wait till we do another.